All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday, everybody. It is Monday, right? I've been on vacation, so I'm just kind of like, what day is it? So I'm pretty sure it's Monday. But I am excited today. We have Dr. Camille Hammond, who is the CEO of the Cade Foundation, here to talk with us a little bit about funding fertility. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me and say, I didn't know you could fund fertility. What is this about? I can't wait to hear more. So, Dr. Hammond, I think that we should have some really good engagement from people listening. To kind of talk about funding. And, I'll just share, a lot of people who follow me know my story. My husband and I have been struggling with fertility for the past year. And we experienced a miscarriage. We experienced multiple biochemical pregnancies. We just went through our first round of IVF, which was not successful. And so we just went through that, and it's been really challenging to say the least, because when you go through IVF, you certainly are hopeful that you will leave pregnant and one day deliver a healthy baby. And so when that doesn't happen, it certainly changes your outlook a little bit. And unfortunately, we were not able to have insurance coverage. So we didn't have any insurance coverage to pay for any of our fertility treatments. And we had IUIs, and we took different types of, medicines to help with ovulation. And we went through IVF, and all of that was out of pocket. So Dr. Hammond, I am trying to find out all the information about how you actually fund this, because our bank account cannot continue to take this drain. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Cade Foundation, and then talk to us a little bit about some options to help with funding.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really pleased to be here tonight, and thank you for sharing your story. I know infertility is hard. That's, one good word to sum it up. Nobody wants it. And sadly, there's 1 in 8 who are part of this community. So funding family building, that's a thing. That is a thing. Most people have to self-fund family building. There are certainly grants, and I'll tell you a little bit about the Cade Foundation's resources. But then I want to talk a little bit more creatively about ways that people have kind of figured out how to put things together so that they could move forward. So Cade Foundation is a nonprofit that supports families with infertility. It was started by my husband, Jason, and myself after we became parents, because my mother served as our gestational carrier. She delivered our triplets at age 55, and those triplets are now 16.
Wow, your mother carried your triplets?
Yes. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was the gift. She and my dad, I always say that, God is good, because he allowed her to carry our triplets when I wasn't able to get pregnant, and they are 16 and beautiful and perfectly imperfect, just like everyone.
I was going to say, they're teenagers, right? So.
Oh, yeah. They are teenagers. So, we were young. We had insurance, and I live in a state where there was a mandate. So because I got insurance through my job at the time, I did have 3 cycles of IVF paid for through insurance. We were both physicians. My husband's an orthopedic surgeon, and I am now general preventive medicine, although I work Cade Foundation full time. So we had all of these advantages, but we still almost broke through because of infertility. We were financially $100,000 in debt. We were fighting each other, kind of nipping at each other. Our relationship had started to erode. Spiritually, I was personally feeling like God was mad at me, or somehow I was being punished. And just emotionally, I feel like infertility almost broke us. And so we thought, given all that we had and given that we overcame, but we just got right to that point, we got to do something to give back. And so we started the foundation. We named it after my mother because we wanted to give families symbolically the gift of parenthood. And, the goal was really to fund one family. And at this point, we have funded 134 families.
Wow. 134 families?
Yes, with up to $10,000 each. So we've given away, well over $1 million, almost at $1.5 million in resources at this point. But more than the money, I feel like the information that we have shared has been helpful because we don't have the money to give to everybody, but anybody who has Facebook can be listening to this program tonight, right?
Absolutely. Information is valuable, right?
There's value to it. People charge for this type of thing. So you're going to get that good information, that insider information for free. So, okay, let's talk about grants. Cade Foundation has a grant that will provide up to $10,000 for fertility treatment or adoption. But if you go to the Cade Foundation's website, that's cadefoundation.org, and you go on our resource page, you'll learn about maybe 50 other grants that also would provide support for fertility treatment and adoption. And if anybody happens to be watching this and you're connected with a grant that's not listed, let us know because we'll add you to the website. The goal of Cade is to get as much people good information about resources that they can use to build their families as possible. So,
well, and Dr. Hammond, let's talk a little bit about the grants that are listed, as well as the Cade Foundation grant, because some of the questions I got beforehand were, are these grants specific to a certain clinic? Or, if you're already going to a clinic, can you use that clinic if you're looking for IUI or IVF treatment? If you're looking for adoption, are there any specific things around it? I know it's on the website, but give us like the high level version of that.
So the high level version is on the website. And I'm only saying that because different grants have different restrictions. They're targeting different people. Even within the Cade Foundation, we have a family building grant, general family building grant that's open to anybody as long as they're here in the US and they have infertility, okay? But we also have Cade grants, additional Cade grants that are set aside for specific clinics. And that's because people from those clinics have come to us and say, hey, I want to provide resources for a grant, but I really want to bless somebody from the clinic that I went to. So that's kind of like a set aside pot. We always have our general Cade Foundation family building grants, but we have these additional resources that are also available to people from certain clinics, okay? And that's the same thing as is on the resource page. The adoption grants, some of them are for anybody. Some of them are for people who want to adopt in a certain place. It really is just, it varies. But if you have any questions, you can always follow up, and we're happy to answer any questions that come our way. And if we don't know, we'll try and direct you to someone who can provide that information.
Awesome. That's great information. I just wanted them to hear it from you in terms of, just going to the website and getting that information. And we already have one other grant that you can add to the Cade Foundation grant. Annette Gives is another grantor out of Texas as well as Seattle, and they're also moving into, I believe, Nigeria. So Olu, correct me if I'm wrong. So we can certainly add them to the website as well.
Love it. If anyone who's watching this, if you will send that information to ea@cadefoundation.org, cadefoundation.org. That's Candace, and she will get that information uploaded to the website. So I'm sorry, Jill. So
I'm saying that's perfect. Keep going.
The grants are the fun stuff that people want to talk about, but most people aren't going to get grants. There is simply not enough money to go around as far as grant resources because, that even when people are generous, when you're giving away awards that are in the thousands of dollars, most organizations are not making multi-million, they're not getting the multi-million-dollar gifts. We're not in a position to support hundreds of families at a time. So even if we support 10 families 1 year, there's still at least 90 or more who don't get funded. So what about those families, right? Well, there are 19 states that have mandates that the legislators have required insurers to pay a portion of costs towards fertility treatment. 19. So you may be living in a state where there's a mandate and you are unaware of that. So what you need to do is go to your HR and ask them, do we have insurance? Does insurance cover either a portion of the diagnosis or treatment of infertility? And you can also call your insurance company as well to see what, if anything, is provided. Even in some states where there is no mandate in place, sometimes large employers, particularly those who are trying to attract employees with a certain skill level in a certain area, they will offer that as a benefit to cover as an employee benefit. Some of them will even pay for egg freezing if that's something that women are interested in doing. They will pay for you to have your eggs frozen or cryopreserved if for whatever reason you're not ready to have children. You can preserve that ability. You can preserve your fertility for the future. So check to make sure before you assume, I got to come out of pocket with all this money. You might not have to. It might be completely covered, or at least a portion of that. Okay.
Absolutely. And Dr. Hammond, I know everybody, they can go and look it up, but really quickly, I'm going to tell you guys, as of March 12th, the 17 states, it's 17 that cover infertility is Arkansas, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Montana, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Rhode Island, Texas, and West Virginia. And I'm not going to repeat those. You can look it up. But just know that those states all cover fertility. So if you're in either of those states, certainly go to HR and look at that. And I've also heard of people who actually relocate their families to states based on the coverage. So sometimes we have to think outside of the box and be creative around how we fund this journey. So, think about it, look into the options and what you can do to move forward.
I'd also say talk to your supervisor in the HR department, because if you're a valued employee and they know, okay, she's struggling or he's struggling, because infertility is not a female thing, it's a family thing. But if they know, okay, this valued employee is struggling and they're thinking about leaving so that they can go get fertility treatment covered, your employer may want to add that to their insurance benefits, because it's probably not going to cost them that much. And it would, it may preserve that relationship, that business relationship. That said, there are a lot of companies where if you're open to taking a little bit of a part-time hustle, you may be able to get your coverage, like Starbucks. Anybody ever gone to Starbucks for a cup of coffee? Yeah, well, for part-time baristas, you get $25,000 worth of fertility coverage, which can be used for gestational carrier. That's a huge benefit for part-time employees. So I just give that as an example. There may be others. Again, people, make these decisions, and it may not be your dream. And I'm not saying you need to quit your day job, but if you can work part-time a couple of nights a week or weekends and use that to pay for your fertility treatment, to me that's a great investment, great use of time.
Absolutely. I mean, even my husband and I, we thought about it. I was like, I don't really want to go work part-time, but I think you should go work part-time at Starbucks. And I mean, and again, to your point, it's something that we consider and looked at. Now, tell us a little bit about any types of options. What about medicine or medication? Medicine is so expensive,
yes.
Depending on the journey. So what are some options to help reduce the cost there?
So there are several programs offered through EMD Serono and Ferring Pharmaceuticals, which are the two largest fertility medication providers in the country. They usually are offered through the clinic that you are receiving care at, but for families who have demonstrated financial need, and I think that they're very generous in what they would call demonstrated financial need, you may be able to get significant discounts on your fertility medications, and it would be distributed through your same pharmacy. But as long as you have gone through their program and they have pre-approved you, you would be able to pay the reduced rate. So that's something that you'll just need to talk to your clinic about. Don't go calling EMD Serono or Ferring, because they really do like to work through healthcare providers.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We actually started our journey with one fertility clinic, and we were able to qualify for compassionate care. And it wasn't based on income, but it was based on my husband's military service. So just the fact that he is a veteran, they automatically gave us 25% off on our medication. And so we had compassionate care with one clinic, and then when we switched, we had EMD Serono, and they honor the 25% that we received from compassionate care. So that was a huge discount for us as well, to be able to have that additional discount.
And I think that what you have pointed out about the military, you should make sure that when you go sit down and talk with a financial counselor at whatever clinic you're with, that you always mention all of these things that show that you have given back and that you have contributed to our nation and our society, whether it be the fact that you are a veteran or an active duty military person. And I think that active duty get more discounts and benefits, but veterans still get a lot. So make sure you mention that. Make sure you mention if you're a first line responder. We're in COVID, and if you're one of the people on the front lines, there may be clinics that are offering some additional discount or support for people who are on the front lines, dealing with this pandemic as well. So if there are any things that about what you do that you think are noteworthy, make sure you let the people in the financial services department know, because you just never know. They may be willing to honor that and provide some sort of discount. And then it never hurts to just be honest and let them know, hey, we want to move forward and we don't have the funds. This is not the time to be to be proud and say, I'll work it out on my own, because the truth is, just because you're not asking doesn't mean other folks aren't asking. What I found is the people that have the most are more likely to ask.
And Dr. Hammond, you made a great point, right? So you can have the funds in the beginning, but if you go through multiple treatments, that money adds up. So don't be shy. Don't be ashamed. It's not a time to be proud. It is a time to ask questions, and ask all the questions, even if you think it's a quote unquote question that shouldn't be asked. And the other thing to look at too is there are certain clinics that do have financing options. Not all clinics have direct financing options, but several of them, even the ones sometimes that you don't think have them, also have other programs and providers that they work with that offer an ability to finance. So if you don't let money be one of the things that holds you back from pursuing that dream, and ask the questions. Again, to Dr. Hammond's point, I don't have the money. Are there other options? They may not offer the financing option up front, but there may be some other ways in the background that could help.
And you mentioned compassionate care. Another word for that, for some, I know compassionate care is like a trademarked term, but sliding scale. Some clinics do offer sliding scale based on your, W-2s and your taxes. So again, as Jill just mentioned, ask. You never know. And don't be the one to assume that, what you've been told or what you read in a brochure is the final word. I also wanted to talk about looking at your budget. So for the Cade Foundation Family Building Grant, we always ask people to share their household budget. And the reason we do that is because we want to know how they spend their money. But we also want people to think about how they're spending their money. Sometimes folks don't think about how much money that they spend on things that have no value. It is easy to spend $50 to $100 a week eating at Panera and Chipotle every day for lunch instead of taking your lunch in. Or, I like to have fun. My husband and I like to eat out on weekends. It's easy to blow $100, $200 on a nice dinner, if you have a bottle of wine. And you may find that if you actually have to sit down and look at where the money is going, you realize, wow, we're spending $1,000 a month on things that I don't even remember. I mean, I don't even think of Chipotle as like fine dining. That's just, food. You might find that if you decided, okay, we're gonna take our lunch for the next year. We're not gonna eat out during the weekday at all ever. And this is, many people have been home because of the pandemic, so that might not be the case as much as it was in the past. But even things like your cable bill, do you have HBO Max? Do you need HBO Max? Would you be okay if you just had Netflix and you relied on the free radio for your news? How much money could you save? Because a lot of people are spending hundreds of dollars a month on things like, cable, and you don't even watch most of the channels, right? So if you are looking at your budget with a real hard look with a magnifying glass and thinking, okay, I need to figure out how I can come up with an additional $15,000. What you might find is over the course of, and this is not an immediate thing because most people can't just grab $15,000. But if you're able to save $5,000 a year by just changing your lifestyle, by not hitting Macy's when you feel sad or when you need a little pick me up, instead, if you go out and run outside or walk outside, come up with a different hobby. Gym memberships. Do you need a gym membership? Do you want a gym membership? Of course, we all want a gym membership. But as I was just talking with Jill ahead of time, we're both Peloton people, right? Well, I don't know how much you spend every month on your Peloton membership, but I think I spend about $40-some, and that's separate from the bike.
49 to be exact. Unless you got a Chase card, they got a discount. They making it free for the next couple months. But yes, $49 a month.
Okay, so we're talking $50 a month. Over the course of a year, that's $600 that you saved. You can still ride your bike. You just can't ride it with Tunde, okay? Or Alex is my favorite.
or Cody.
But you can still ride a bike. I'm not suggesting that you not work out and that you not do things. I'm saying look hard at how you're spending your money and think about how you may be able to cut some of those costs, which are more discretionary. And if you really want to save money over the course of 2-3 years, you may be able to self-fund this thing that fell out of reach by making some hard choices. Even hair, hair is a big issue. Many women spend a lot of money on their hair. And I understand self-care is important, but when you're talking hundreds of dollars every month, 2 months, if you use that money, if you say, okay, I'm not going to give the money to my hairstylist, I'm going to maybe go around for a year and have to figure out how to do my own hair, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. And it's not like there's not plenty of YouTube. I honestly, it's not the goal. But what's most important to you? If your hair is what's most important to you, if your cable is what's most important to you, if your Chipotle is what's most important to you, by all means, don't change your lifestyle at all. But if the thing that's most important to you right now is saving up so that you can pursue family building, whether that's adoption or fertility treatment, then make the change, save the money, and move forward with your life.
Awesome, awesome. The great tips, great pointers on Dr. Hammond. I know we wanted to keep this short, but we've had some really great tips, some really great pointers about grants, about financing options, about medicine discounts, about budgeting, which is really huge because we know that all of this stuff adds up. I've been checking the comments. I don't see any questions. I've seen a lot of great comments that I've put up during our presentation. I know this was our first round in terms of doing Facebook Live, where we really wanted to give the information out for those who may be watching the replay. This is available on Facebook Live. It's also on YouTube. And then Dr. Hammond and I will also be doing a more detailed room for those of you that are on Clubhouse. I'm sorry, Android users. I have nothing to do with when they're going to release it on Android. But for those of you who are on Clubhouse, we're going to have a more detailed conversation on Clubhouse so we can really take questions from the audience and get some feedback. If you watch the replay, if you have additional questions, if you want to reach out and we'll certainly try to be a resource, because what we know for sure is funding fertility is not cheap. But it is a priority for most of us that are listening who want to either, if you're in the process of starting your family, or maybe you're not in the process. Like Dr. Hammond talked about freezing eggs. That's something I really wish I would have done at a younger age. There's so many levels and paths on this journey. And so we want to make sure that people have what they need to move along that path. So Dr. Hammond, I'll leave the last words to you if you want to share final words with the audience.
Never give up. There's always a way, and just make sure that your behavior reflects your intention. So, listen to this conversation again, and if you have any questions or you need counseling, feel free to give us a call. We don't formally do counseling, but we can certainly put you in contact with people who do this professionally who may be able to lend support.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for tuning in. As Dr. Hammond has said, never give up. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.